Welcome to the October 25th, 2023 Littleton Board of Health meeting. It is 7:05. Again, we apologize for the slight delay in getting started. Couple quick informational kind of things while we get going. For anybody who's interested, there are a number of open board and committee seats available here in town on a variety of different boards and committees. Please feel free to check the littletonma.org website to see open seats. These seats will be appointed by the select board. So if you have an interest, there is a process to apply to the select board that you're interested, and they will appoint to fill open seats. They're either vacant or vacated and are filling till the next election. So please take a look and find great opportunities to serve your and our community. For our board members, please check your emails. There should be an email. Brenda sent out a reminder today. We have also one from our IT department reminding us to complete our cybersecurity awareness training. It needs to be completed within the next 5 days. I admit the first time I saw it, I was a good cybersecurity awareness type person, and I went, this looks kind of fishy. And I didn't do it. So apparently I was too vigilant about my cybersecurity, and I didn't do the training that I need to do. So I know I'm guilty. So I have 5 more days. So please, everyone, please check your littletonma.org email addresses and complete the cybersecurity awareness training as required by our IT department. All right. Thank you all for your patience. We're going to start with our 7 o'clock public hearing for 18 Mill Lane, petitioner Civil Solutions. And Kevin, I'm going to promote you. Looks like Kevin actually has both of our first 2 public hearings tonight. So as Kevin links back up, there before us requesting a variance for sewage disposal system upgrade design for 18 Mill Lane. Good evening, Mr. Ritchie. There you are.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
I'm Kevin Ritchie from Civil Solutions. I'm here on behalf of Henry Crystal, the owner of 18 Mill Lane. Mr. Crystal's in the process of selling his house. He had a Title V inspection, of which it failed. And we've designed a new septic system for his property. We're using the Geomat for this particular site. See if I can share my screen. Okay, so we have 18 Mill Lane. It's here on the end of the lane down at the corner. There are some wetlands adjacent to the site on properties on either side of it. So there's wetlands down this side of the property as well as this side here. He's got his existing house, garage, driveway, paved driveway around the perimeter of the garage. His existing septic tank here in the backyard. And then his existing leach field, which has failed, is here. So again, we've designed him a geomat, tried to keep it off the wetlands as best we could and kind of center it between the 100-foot buffer zone on either side. We were able to manage to get 93 feet off the wetland here. As we push it closer to the garage and closer to the wetland, would block the grading. Block the drainage flow through here. The grading doesn't work. So we pushed it as close to the garage as we can. We have designed the geomat with a 3-foot groundwater offset. So we are here tonight. That's the only variance that we require, or the approval. We are looking for the approval from the board to use the geomat with a 3-foot groundwater offset rather than a 4-foot. Property, it is served by town water. It's extremely steep in the rear. Some ledge outcroppings up there as well.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Ritchie. Mr. Gareffi, do you have any comments or notes for 18 Mill Lane?
As Kevin mentioned, trying to straddle the two wetlands areas and try to consider the drainage that has to come down from that steep hill on the right-hand side of the plan. You can also see a little triangular piece. Looks like some ledge that was popping out there. So again, we're trying to keep it away from various concerns on the site. With a 3-foot offset, they're able to put it in the ground reasonably well without raising the grade terribly much, and still be able to do some drainage around that system. Again, I think a reasonable design for the site.
All right, we'll check with the board if it has any questions. We will go alphabetical. Mr. Baker.
I have no comments. Thanks for keeping it as far off the wetlands as you could. Looks like you fit it in the best place possible without disturbing some of that grading by the driveway there. So thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. Mr. Fredoloni, any questions, comments?
Just asking the engineer, was the septic system clean? Was it it needs to be replaced? It's sometimes the septic system has nothing to do with the leach field, because they can always put a leach field for near the water, wetland, something like that. Why replace the septic system?
So in this case here, we're reusing the existing septic tank, which was replaced, I think 10 or 15 years ago. So
Right.
we're reusing that. Because of the groundwater and whatnot, we do need a pump to get the effluent up into the leaching area. And then the existing leach field was definitely saturated with effluent. We did hit it when I believe we were digging this test hole here. We were working our way across the back of the yard, and we hit it a couple of times, and it was definitely chock-a-block full of sewage.
Okay, so the leach field that can be changed or be replaced, but
Yes.
I'm glad that you said they don't have to replace the septic system, because I'm telling you, people don't realize that goes for a lot of money today. If it needs it to be changed, I agree with you. But if it does not need it, in my experience, sometimes as long they clean it. And by the way, when you do that, you have to remind the owner of the home, make sure you clean your septic system every 2 years. That way you have no problem.
Yes, and this system will have a filter in the septic tank, so they'll want to clean that at least yearly.
Beautiful. I appreciate that as being mentioned, because like I say, I've been in the business for a long time. And I agree with Jim, because it not only is an inspector, is also a friend of ours. And I appreciate his comment. But I'm glad you don't have to make sure they have to replace the septic system. I can see maybe the leach field because the ground is wetland a little bit, but not that much. But just to make sure you do the right thing.
Appreciate that.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Fredoloni. The chair has no questions. We have one member in the audience. I believe that's for a further hearing. I don't see a hand up, so I don't see any abutters or audience members with any questions. The chair will entertain a motion.
I make the motion to go ahead.
Okay, so it sounds like Gino's made a motion to approve the use of the geomat system in a groundwater offset decrease from 4 feet to 3 feet. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. We'll do roll call vote. Mr. Baker,
Kevin Baker votes yes.
Mr. Fratelloni,
Gino Ferroni, vote yes. Thank you,
and
Jimmy,
chair
for being
votes- and the chair votes yes. Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
All right, Kevin, you need a second to catch your breath before 16 Town Road?
No, I think I should, just the amount of time it takes me to
Pull it up.
share my screen.
All right, so we're now opening our 7:10 public hearing for a variance request for sewage disposal system upgrade design for 16 Town Road. The petition is being represented by Civil Solutions Inc., represented by Kevin Ritchie. Mr. Ritchie, whenever you're ready, sir.
All right, good evening. I'm Kevin Ritchie from Civil Solutions. I'm here on behalf of Elisa Franklin, the owner of 16 Town Road. 16 Town Road is the last house before the town beach. So we come down Town Road off of Goldsmith, and this area here is the parking area for the town beach. So I believe it's an existing 2-bedroom dwelling. So we will not be increasing the flow. It's a very tight lot. I believe it's 75 feet wide by 100. We dug 4 test holes because it was so tight. So we dug a couple over this side and a couple in the back. And the back here, this area is where the existing septic system is. We did have ledge in the bottom of all the test holes. And the ledge appeared to be getting shallower as we went up the hill. So again, here we're placing the new leaching area here. This particular system is the geomat, again, to help with the grading on this particular site because of the limited amount of room. The existing tank and leach field are here in the backyard. It is served by town water. Comes in here. So what we're proposing to put a new septic tank and pump chamber in the backyard because of the depth of soil or the lack of depth. We're trying to keep them up the hill a little bit so that we can fill in around them without hopefully having to hammer the ledge to tanks in. So again, we were proposing to put the septic tank and pump chamber in the back and pumping it up the hill between the house and the garage. We will be crossing the water line here. We propose to sleeve the water line. It's a pressure water line, and it'll be a pressure line here with a sleeve, and then dosing the geomat in this area here. We do have a retaining wall on this end here. We were not able to grade it out before hitting the lot line. So we have a short retaining wall here. I believe it's roughly a foot and a half tall along the property line between between 16 Town Road and the town parking lot. So we've got a couple of variances on this one. We are asking for the board's approval to use the geomat with a 2-foot groundwater offset rather than the 4-foot. So the one variance is the approval of the geomat for the 2-foot reduction in the groundwater offset. We do have fill within 10 feet of a lot line. I mean, basically the system is, excuse me, within 10 feet of the lot line on both the town on the town property lot line. We're 5 feet off of it here and roughly 6 feet off on the end here. We're asking to be allowed to use fill within 10 feet of the lot line. And again, we have a retaining wall along the end. We are asking to reduce the offset from the leaching area to the lot line from 10 feet to 5 feet. The natural soil, we did have to run a sieve analysis. There was too much groundwater. Obviously, this summer's been pretty wet. We had trouble running the perk. So we're using a sieve analysis, and we had a class 1 soil, so it was a pretty sandy soil. And then we're asking to reduce the offset from the leaching area to a water supply line here from 10 feet to 5 feet. And again, the force main will be sleeve. But in this area here will be the closest point. So those would be the 5 approvals of variances that we're asking for. I can run through them again. We're asking to reduce the groundwater offset from 4 to 2 feet. We've got fill within 10 feet of a lot line. We're proposing the leaching area to be 5 feet rather than 10 feet off the lot line. We're asking to use the sieve analysis. And we're asking to reduce the offset from the leaching area to the pressure water line.
All right, thank you, sir. Mr. Greffy, any notes, comments, concerns, questions about 16 Town Road, excuse me?
You're all familiar with the parking lot there in front of it, and probably haven't really noticed the house. You almost think it's maybe part of the driveway for the house, but it's right there. It's right on the parking lot. Fortunately, the geomat allows, amongst other things, to reduce the offset between the foundation and the edge of the leaching area. Title V requires typical pipe and stone to be 20 feet off a foundation or 10 feet off a slab. Geomat allows you to get that reduction down to 5 feet without any special, there's no variance needed for it. The technology is approved that way. So again, that helps trying to fit this system onto the site. The little retaining wall, again, there's just a short little piece of driveway that kind of pokes out where the system's going to go. They have a driveway on the other side of the house, but that little retaining wall will keep the fill on the site. Unfortunately, when you're dealing with all existing utilities, offsets to things like water lines sometimes are unavoidable. And where you have a site that's ledgy, you just as soon not start moving water lines around. You may find that you're into having to hammer all kinds of rock to get it to be relocated. So I think the design as proposed, it certainly is going to be vastly improved over the system that's in the water table on the other side of the house. So I think it's a reasonable replacement system.
All right, thank you, sir. Let's start with Mr. Fratelloni. Do you have any questions, comments, concerns, questions for the petitioner?
I concur with Jim because unfortunately the land is very small and they have to do to accommodate the situation the best we can. So I didn't think they went out of it. I think he hit it right on a point. Thank you, Jim. We appreciate your knowledge.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Baker.
That's a lot. Kev, how far down the groundwater?
I think it was like 32 inches.
And how far?
Or 30 inches.
And how far to the edge of the lake?
Couple 100 feet anyway.
And
The offset to the lake is a non-issue, I guess.
That's
It's
true.
probably a couple 100 feet anyway.
That's far enough.
And has there been any conversation with the abutter who similarly is looking to get a septic system installed for their purposes on the abutting property?
We did not hear anything about the abutter needing a system.
I mean, they've been testing Frost Goldsmith Street on that vacant lot next to Baker Lane, trying to get a system in for Parks and Rec to do something at the beach. With Doucette.
Yeah, no, we have not been in contact with any. We did obviously notify the abutters, basically the town here. I think there's a park or whatnot across town road. That would have been notified as well, but probably under the same. I think they were both Park and Rec that need other abutters as well.
And at what point, in all seriousness, do we start talking about a tight tank on this property?
I think there's enough soil here that this is a satisfactory system. I mean, it's
no doubt it's better than
tightest.
what's there.
Yeah, exactly.
100%. You fit 10 pounds of stuff in a 5-pound bag. I get you did an amazing job on this design. There's no question about it.
We got 10 pounds in a 10-pound pail. There's no extra.
Maybe 11. I don't know.
And it's only 2-bedroom anyway.
Yes, and it will have to remain the 2-bedroom, obviously.
Thanks for doing such a good job on it, Kevin.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. I was just saying, you kind of answered one of my questions. Obviously, this is a bill within 10 feet of the lot line, so a butter notification was done. And I do not see anyone in the audience for that. certainly agree this is a tough spot all around between it being surrounded two sides by a parking lot and a small lot on ledge right next to the lake. It's a hard one. Obviously the concern is not like it's the existing system is in the water table. So certainly that while I'm sure this design is awesome and hopefully it will be function for the next 30 years for them, obviously that they're, I'm sure, already well aware that if there's an issue with this, then it'll be a challenge trying to replace it. And I think that point we'd probably be talking about a more restrictive system, but we're not there. And hopefully this system will work for a very, very long time. So I don't think I have any other questions. I do see a small retaining wall off the property line. I'm assuming that's pre-existing on the
Yes.
town road side. Is that, it looks like a small stone
Yeah,
wall,
no,
like stone wall right there?
Yeah, it's very negligent. It's
Okay.
almost like a curb.
Okay. I see a curve right at the corner of the building, and then the town road side, it looks like, is that a small stone wall?
Yeah, so there's a small stone wall along the roadway here.
All right. I don't think I
And
have
that's
any
set-
other go ahead.
Yep, sorry. And that sets up quite a bit. So that doesn't, we're obviously not grading into that.
All right. I don't see any abutters. I don't see any hands raised in the audience. Mr. Baker, go ahead.
Just a question for the engineer. If you were able to grade out to the edge of the road, could you eliminate that retaining wall?
This wall, so the wall that we're putting in is along this end of there's a little driveway here. So we're putting in a wall
Oh, that's
here.
the wall. Okay.
This is the
All right.
wall, yes.
Never
This-
mind. then.
This,
Thank you.
yeah, no, this is an existing stone wall here.
Okay, that's what I was looking at.
Yeah, no, and we're able to grade into this side here. It's slightly elevated along the street and it steps down, so we're kind of filling in this little bowl. But we
Okay,
can't grade out into the parking lot.
Yeah, thanks for clearing that up.
All right. As I said, I don't see any abutters. I don't see any other hands raised in the audience or among the panelists. Chair will entertain a motion.
Make a motion to accept. Their wishes.
All right. I have a motion to accept the request as presented for groundwater offset from 4 feet to 2 feet using the geomat, variance for minimum breakout fill within 10 feet of a property line, reduce the offset leaching area to a property line from 10 feet to 5 feet, allow the use of a sieve analysis, and reduce the requisite offset from a pressure water line to a leaching area from 10 feet to 5 feet as proposed. Do I have a second?
I'll second that. Did you ask for abutters? Don't
I
know.
did ask for butters. We got
Okay,
no hands in the audience.
Yeah.
We've got no hands on the board. So,
I'll second it.
all right, we have a motion and second. Roll call vote. Mr. Baker,
Kevin Baker votes yes.
Mr. Freneloni,
Gino, yes. Yes.
the chair votes yes. Motion passes. You have your variances and approval, sir.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Good luck.
Have a nice night.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. We are a little behind, but not terribly, for our 7:20 public hearing for 23 to 31 Stevens Street. This is a continuation from our last, requesting a Title V waiver. Petition is being represented by the law offices of Thomas A. Gibbons, and I believe Emily Langlis is the attorney who's handling this. Attorney Langlis, you don't have your hand raised, but I remember you from last time, so there we go. Hope you don't mind. I'm going to promote you anyway.
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening. All right,
All
so
right.
yes,
So
back
I know
with
we
our,
saw you 2 weeks ago requesting a Title V variance for a failed septic system and a property that is attempting to be sold. And it also is scheduled to be to have access to town sewer once it's available. At our last meeting, we did not have a final report from the Title V inspector. I did talk to Jim at the beginning of our meeting, and it sounds like that has been accomplished, and he has reviewed and seen the site as well. So, Attorney Langla, is that kind of the gist? Please correct
Yep.
anything that I.
That is correct. Since our last meeting, we did have the sale go through. So currently now we have new owners. We're still, trying to get this. I think the only thing that changes is the names, on the owners of the agreement. The new owners are going to have to sign and make sure they keep up with, whatever mitigation is required.
All right, Mr. Gareffi.
Sure. So I can share screen. I just want to show you that I have the Title V inspection. There's just and I've talked to Attorney Langlis a little bit about this. There's 2 lots that share this system. So if I can share, figure out how to do this. Share screen. Share. Hey, can you see the Title V inspection report?
We have it.
Yes.
Okay, good. So I'm just it's 18 pages of loveliness. To me, the most important piece is it's a cesspool that's in between the 2 buildings. So, and again, it's just kind of a little, just so you can see where this is. Okay, so this is the building 23 or 21, 23 or whatever it is, 2331. And this is Stevens Street onto Adams. And there's a little auto body shop in the back. I guess this is called, I was looking at the assessor's maps today. This is called, or this auto body shop is on 1 Adams. It's a separate lot. So, and they were owned by the same owner. So that cesspool, who knows when that went in, but I've been in town 17 years. We haven't had any complaints on it. It probably predates Title V, if I had to guess, even a way back. According to the report, they're able to maintain it. I think you had a letter in your packet. So this is kind of the section of the report that talks about the cesspool. There's 3 inches of liquid level below the invert, so it's not over the pipe. At the date of the inspection, it was below the pipe. So again, it's going to require them paying attention to the system and making sure they pump it as needed. There is a manhole cover. When I was out there today, there's a manhole cover over this pit. Again, no sign of that it's discharged to the surface of the ground, and no odors today when I was there on the site. I don't know if the auto body shop was, certainly busy. I don't know if there's people in these buildings up front. So again, I don't know how much use it's going. Is the vet still in there, Attorney Langlis?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. The
So it's
vet
still-
and the comic store.
Okay.
On the other unit.
Okay, so it's still currently being used as it has been. So, again, after I got the new deed from Attorney Langlis, I asked Brenda to modify the waiver agreement from what council had, so that it had the proper owner's information in it, and made one other change. I reviewed the meeting from the last time, and it sounds like you approved the documents that council had put together and the document that Kevin Davis had put for the application. Modified them just a little bit based on, and some of this I need to ask questions of the board, how you want to handle things. On number 5 of the waiver agreement, I think Brenda has it in the packet. Council had a date in there, had like a blank October 2026 in there. I'm not sure where that date came from. The Title V allows the board to grant waivers for up to 5 years. So what I did was had Brenda put in there expire within 5 years or within 6 months of the issuance of a notice of availability. That's a term in talking with Corey Godfrey at the Water Sewer Department. That's what they're going to send owners, that notice of availability when they can tie in. So that'll be kind of the deadline, soon, and we'll be able to know that because we can certainly ask Water Sewer to send us, a list of those people who have received those notices, so that we can then go and remind people that they've got 6 months to get it tied in or less. So those are changes I made from the document that you approved. So I hope those are okay. I don't think it changes it significantly, but I changed it from what you approved. I wanted you to know that I had changed it and why. Okay. So those are I think, and the only other thing we did was at the end of that document, there were 2 highlighted areas that council had suggested. They're like conditions, and I don't think I printed that page, unfortunately. There were 2 conditions. I have one of them. To inspect the cesspool quarterly and have it pumped to prevent it from discharging. So that would be one of the conditions. And the other condition was to provide the board access to the site to do inspections as needed. So I just had her accept those because they both seem to be reasonable conditions on that. One weirdo kind of thing about this, once I realized the 2 properties are connected, they're being sold. So when a person owns the 2 lots, not a big deal. When they're in separate ownerships, if this was a regular leach field and it's not a Title V system, but it's a leaching area, there's a section of the code that talks about shared systems. And so I'm assuming, and Attorney Langley, you can correct me, is this going to be sold to an owner different than the front?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. So there'll be 2 parties that are sharing the system. And so the purpose of a shared system agreement and kind of approval on the shared system is to define the obligations and responsibilities of the 2 parties. And I've had a little conversation with Attorney Langlis about my concerns is we want to know who's responsible for maintaining it. So if it's discharging, we can call somebody and say, hey, pump it. Because if they don't, my recommendation to the board would be is have them put a tight tank in there for the duration. So right now the system's been in the ground. It hasn't seemed to cause an issue. But if they can't maintain it, so I think as part of this, and I guess the next property is going to come up and we'll have to check with sewer, make sure they have access. I think the parties need to enter into a Title V shared system agreement. So the legal requirements are there, they're recorded, and the board can feel comfortable knowing that they know what their obligations are. So I don't have a problem with the waiver as such, but I think we need to add that additional layer on that. Not that I want to layer it on there, but it's not like it's going to be a month. It's going to be at least 2 years, I think, based on talking with Corey, before those notices of availability would be on there. And Attorney Langlis, I can get that information for you. There's a covenant of Title V easement, it's called, that gets filled out. And
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, if you could get that over to me, and I'll
my,
discuss with the parties.
yeah, that'd be good. Get that, and then the board would approve that, so that can actually be recorded on both properties as well. That way, there, hopefully, it minimizes kind of he said, she said about who's responsible for pumping and how much water you can put in there. Because both of the waivers, and again, I don't know if you know this, Attorney Langlis, both of the waivers or the waiver document itself kind of limits people to the uses that are in the building at this point. Doesn't allow them to expand, doesn't allow them to add on. So that's another important piece. And I don't, again, I want to try to head off any kind of conflict by having all the documentation in place.
Yeah, absolutely. And as far as my knowledge is concerned, there shouldn't be any change in use. The buyers of the front piece, they still have the tenants, the vet and the comic book store. And I don't know of any intention of changing that. And the buyer of the back parcel, the auto body, is actually the owner of the auto body shop who's been renting. So there should be no change in use on that end either. So
okay, there's that. So then if you I assume in your package you also have the waiver request procedure.
yes, yeah.
I'm sorry, Attorney Lang, this is for the board. I made a couple of changes there too. I mean, I watched the meeting and the changes are really, I need to ask you more procedure than anything else. So where the changes were made were in, I think your document, the original approval went to number 7. There's a concern about how we want to get this document, the waiver, signed and notarized by the parties. And again, I want to ask the board how you want to handle this. That's why I kind of changed it a bit so we could address that. 2 pieces, getting it signed and notarized, and the second piece, getting it recorded. I think I had provided Kevin Davis kind of what Lunenburg did, And at that time, Lunenburg, the admin, I think the board was concerned that people wouldn't record these documents, so they had the board record them. That just, in this day and age of, kind of virtual meetings and getting people together for signatures, my thought is, if the board didn't have an issue with it, could we have, who do you want to have sign it? That's for number one. Whether you want, because we just need to get it notarized. And then who do you want to have record it? We need, if the board's going to do it, we'd want to get a check to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And that's why I left the X's in there. I think it's $105. But there may be like an electronic filing fee. So again, as opposed to not having to worry about that check, if we were, allowed the documents to be signed and notarized and then recorded by the closing attorney, that may minimize that. But again, these are your choices. And I guess I changed it to kind of reflect that. Certainly can change it back. I just need to know what it is you would like to do.
All right, thank you, sir. So we have a couple things here. We have shared system agreement. We have the original Title V waiver for the system, and we have a little bit of a process question. I'm going to start with the process piece, if that's okay with everybody, just to make sure that we have our process before we actually make it go live. So I think our process piece is relatively straightforward. We're going to start with who do we want to have sign it? It looks like Jim had changed it from, I believe the original version had all members of the board signing. It looks like he's changed it to the chair. I have to check on spelling of Julie.
Yeah, I saw that.
Okay, I'm going. I think it's only got one L, but it's been a long day. It might not be.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start with, is the board acceptable that having the chair sign on behalf of the board after a duly authorized and appropriate board vote on an action? So it's not chair independently, it's simply chair on behalf of the board after the board has taken an action. Okay, I'm not sure if we need to do a roll call vote, but we're going to do it anyway. Mr. Baker,
Kevin Baker votes yes.
Mr. Fratelloni.
I do that, yes, too.
All right, the chair does as
It was
well.
a
All right,
good-
so chair will sign on behalf after the board takes appropriate action. And as far as actually recording it, do we want to have our agent, Jim's office, record it? Do we want to have our administrative staff, Brenda or whoever in the office, record it? Or do we want to require that the attorney of record for the applicant record it and then just provide documentation that the recording has happened?
That's a good idea.
Mr. Baker,
I
or
vote
some
for
other
option,
action.
option 3, to have the applicant's attorney get the documents notarized and recorded and send proof of recording to the board so we can issue the document. The final.
So
Right.
for a flow piece, I would say that once the board has taken action, the chair signs on behalf of the board, it would go to the attorney of record for property owner signatures and notarized, and then that will be in the attorney's hands or nearby so that they can actually record it rather than going the other way. If that's an acceptable, reasonable flow, does that make sense, everybody? If we've taken the
Yes, sir.
action, we sign it, basically hand it off to the attorneys representing so they can get their parties to sign and then record it. Rather than having them have to sign it, it comes to us. We have to sign it and notarize it in town hall and then goes back to them.
Right.
Does that seem like a reasonable choice unless something needs to change based on individual case for a workflow?
If I understand
Okay.
correctly, you'll approve, the board will approve, chair will sign. That signed document then can go to the attorney,
Right.
have the owner sign and get that notarized, and they can
Right.
record. And they can just let us know that it's been recorded, because we can pull it down electronically once it's recorded. Okay.
Does that seem reasonable, Jim? 'Cause certainly because you are.
Yeah.
more
Well, I
used to
just-
more use of the papers moving across in a reasonable way than we are.
Yeah.
So we can pick anything, but we want to make sure this is a reasonable workflow for everybody who actually is doing it day to day.
That's right. And again, I want to make it, reasonable for the board since you guys, are volunteers. So, okay. That seems to work.
All right. Chair, on behalf of the board, who's recording it? A quick workflow of where the paperwork is moving. Did I miss any of the administrative and workflow procedures that we need to address before we look at this individual case? I don't see any hands. I don't see any heads bouncing. Okay, so we're going to say our process is in place. So that brings us back to the original request of the Title V waiver for 23 to 31 Stevens, and then the additional piece of the potential requirement of a shared user agreement between the two new or about to be new property owners sharing that one existing system between the two properties. Jim has given
I
us
have no
piece. We're going to go
objection.
around the board to see if anybody has any comments or questions. Mr. Baker, any comments, questions about 23 to 31 Stevens and indirectly Adam Street?
No questions. I think we've hashed out all the details. I think that as long as I think the shared system agreement is very important on this one. Just so we can, and if the both parties, I guess, Jim, I don't know at what point, if both parties can't get together, that we talk about putting in a tight tank that has to be serviced, but
Yep.
Attorney Langlis will let you sort of do that all negotiation between those guys so we don't get there. And everything sounds great.
Hey, Mr. Fredoloni.
Same thing. They're getting together, right? They need the septic system. Let them follow through. Thank you, Jim, for your suggestion.
Nope, no problem.
All right. I think my only question is just certainly how do we work kind of these two pieces together? So we have the Title V waiver for that front property for the 2331 Stevens. Do we want to require the shared user agreement to be in place prior to approving or having it as a condition of approval for the Title V waiver? Certainly my concern is they get the waiver and there's no shared agreement, and we're back to where Jim was concerned with. We get 6 inches of rain in the next 3 weeks and now we've got an issue, or some other change in events, and we're to a piece of who's responsible for the system. Mr. Baker.
Just to set a precedent that's very clear, I think we should have all the paperwork together in the application packet so we can review everything together
Right.
and then make a decision.
Will they be okay, Jim?
Sure.
Wanted to see you laugh.
So it sounds like Mr. Baker put that
So,
forward.
we
Mr.
have a point.
Fratelloni, it sounds like is in agreement with that. I admit that that's why I brought the question up of going, I have a concern with approving the waiver without having that agreement in place or as a condition of having the waiver. In this case, the waiver needing to be signed, notarized, and recorded. That condition
good.
really needs to be there before we obviously sign a piece of paper. Because once it's recorded whether there's that condition is there or not. So it sounds like the purchase and sale has already gone through for the new property owner. So they kind of took it as the on faith and as is status of the property, recognizing that the system was in failure at time of purchase. I certainly don't want to extend this any further than we have to, but I would like to see that in place as well. Attorney Langlis, because we'll start with, can you understand the board's concern? And do you think that would be an acceptable piece and something that could happen in the next couple of weeks for you and your client?
Yeah, we can certainly work with Jim, as you mentioned. You can send some stuff over to me, so we can certainly work within the next few weeks to get that done and understand. Of course, understand the concern there. I think it'll be a good thing to have it worked out, between all the parties as well. So,
All right.
Make a motion to continue.
A
I have a
second.
motion to continue and a second. Roll call vote, Mr. Baker,
Kevin Baker votes yes.
Mr. Fratelloni,
Jennifer, Ron, yes. I'm
The
sorry
chair
about
votes
that.
yes,
young
continue
lady.
hearing. We're going to continue
That'll be
this
okay in
to
a couple
our
weeks.
next scheduled meeting, which should be November 8th. I apologize. I don't have my calendar up, so give me one moment, but it should be November 8th.
That's the one.
November 8th is our next scheduled meeting. So for that hearing, hopefully we will have a shared user agreement. I think the board in principle is in favor of the waiver, but obviously we will discuss and vote at that meeting. Attorney Langlis, as soon as you have that stuff, if you can forward along to Jim and Brenda in the office so she can share it with us so that we can try to make this as smooth and easy for all the parties as possible. We appreciate your understanding and of the process and our concerns both for the town, the residents, and truthfully for the property owners on both sides of that driveway.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Mhm.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks.
All right, we do have a 7:30 hearing on our agenda. We actually, at our last meeting, had planned on continuing the model Board of Health regulations for private wells to our November 8th meeting. And I apologize, I will take responsibility for this one, that it was on this agenda, but we actually had planned it for the November 8th one. So I apologize for that. Officially, it's on here. Unless someone has another thought, I'm happy to entertain a motion so we can continue it to our November 8th meeting as originally planned.
Make a motion to accept for the November 8th, 2023.
Thank you, sir. I have a
Second the
motion.
motion. I'll second the motion and
Motion is-
continue.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Baker wrote.
Kevin Baker votes yes.
Mr. Fratellone.
With for yes.
And the chair votes yes. We'll continue our Board of Health regulation for private well to November 8. Dr. Wason is not here this evening, but we do have our infectious disease decision support tool. He did not share his updated spreadsheet. We do have a little bit of information. He did share that currently we are considered at low risk for both flu and arbovirus, which is a great thing, and for RSV as well. There certainly are cases out there of flu and RSV, but we are not considered a high risk at the moment. Our most recent COVID data brings us back to the week of from October 8th to 14th. State's report. Unfortunately, the state data comes out on Thursdays, which is tomorrow. So we're kind of looking at a week and a half back. They had reported 1,928 new cases and 20 deaths during that time frame. And 2.6% of all hospitalizations during that week were related to COVID, approximately 375 patients. So it is, again, still out there. We do have some new updated vaccinations. So if you have not gotten a booster, and it's your time to get a booster, please consider working with your local public health officials, local clinics, commercial clinics, hospitals, PCPs. Talk to your providers and find out what you may need for a booster. If you have not gotten your flu shot as well, since we're talking about the ID decision support tool, it is not too late to get your flu shot. So please get out there and get it. That no matter how you feel about flu shots, it is much better than getting the flu.
Right.
Any questions or anything about the or additional information for the ID decision support tool?
I don't have no
All
comment.
right. Mr. Fratellone, you have a question or comment?
No question.
No. Okay. Sorry, I was looking down and I thought I heard something. All right. Administrative matters. We have a number of minutes that need approval. Has everybody had an opportunity to review the minutes? Yes, Mr. Baker.
I have had an opportunity to review the minutes. Unfortunately, I can't vote on a couple of them because I was either partially or wholly not at two meetings. I would, however, would like to make a motion to approve the meeting minutes as presented with two small edits, one from Matt Wason and one from myself, for the November 30th, 2022 minutes. And Brenda has access to those small grammatical edits, and I believe all the board does as well. Matt Wason was just checking the percentage. That was less than 40% on the ID decision support tool regarding the Littleton residents received a COVID booster. And I just had an edit related to 12 Field Lane, adding finished space to the basement at their home. But I'd like to make a motion to approve those as edited.
All right, and that was going to be for 11/30/22, 2/8/23, and 5/24/23.
That's only for November 30, 2022.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. Nope, we can take that. Any other comments on 11/30/22?
No,
Don't see any comments. So roll call vote for 11/30/22 approval of the minutes. Mr. Baker,
Kevin Baker votes yes.
Mr. Fredaloni,
yes,
and the board votes yes. So 11/30/22 minutes have been approved. We had a total of 4 additional ones on our agenda. We have 2/8/23, 5/24/23, 8/9/23, and 9/13/23. Upon reviewing, we're going to use those two, the 2 oldest of that list, 2/8/23 and 5/24/23. We have all members present, but I know Mr. Baker, you said you had missed, was what I know, one, I think you left one early.
Right.
I just, I did not see that noted on the minutes.
I made it
When
in
I
a
reviewed them,
comment. Yeah, it wasn't noted. And I just put it in a comment on the draft. But it was, let me just check here. Yeah, so I can vote on, I would like to make a motion to approve the February 8th, 2023 minutes as presented.
All right, so roll call vote, I'm sorry, we have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
second,
Thank you, sir. Roll call vote to approve the minutes of February 8th, 2023. Mr. Baker,
Kevin Baker votes yes.
Mr. Fredaloni,
Ferroni, yes.
and chair votes yes. All right, minutes of February 8th, 2023 have been approved. So the meeting of 5/24/23, Mr. Baker, is that the one that you had left early?
Correct. Yeah, I was cut
so-
out early.
But you were there though.
I was there for the first half, but I can't speak to the conversation regarding the well regulations.
All right, all right.
We do have a quorum if folks would like to take a vote on that one, for 5/24/23.
Okay.
I will entertain a motion if anyone would like to make it, but basically it's me or
Alright.
Gino.
Okay, I'll do it, okay? Okay, Mr.
Okay.
Baker? Okay, I'll make a motion.
All right, Mr. Fredaloni has made a motion to approve the minutes of 5/24/23. The
Yes.
chair will second. So we'll take a roll call vote. Mr. Baker,
Kevin Baker abstains.
Mr. Fredaloni,
Yes,
chair votes yes. The minutes of 5/24/23 are approved. Our next minutes are 8/9/23. This meeting, actually, I was not present at all, unfortunately.
I will
there
make a motion to approve the minutes of August 9th, 2023 as presented.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
second. But the question is, can you check, see if my name was there? Because it was my birthday day.
You were there. You were there.
You were there.
Yeah, it
I-
was.
we're- You were there on paper. I was not in the meeting, so I can't say you were actually there, but you were not marked as absent on the minutes. So I'm gonna have to trust you guys that you were there
And
because I
didn't-
wasn't there to
I
verify.
didn't have anything to drink either, but I had a cake in front of me in the daytime and everything. So I wanted to make sure, I got a meeting tonight. And I told everybody, I said, not to worry, so you're not drinking anyway. So you eat a lot. Anyway, that was, I was concerned about that one, but I'm okay.
All right.
Second,
I've got a motion. Did I have a second? I'm sorry.
I second. Gio Ferroni
All right.
makes it.
As I believe Mr. Baker, you motioned and Mr. Fredaloni second, correct? All right, sorry,
Correct.
thank you for that.
Correct.
All right, roll call vote. Mr. Baker
Kevin Baker votes yes.
Gino
Mr.
Ferroni,
Ferroni.
yes.
and the chair abstains. We've approved the minutes for August 9th, 2023. Our last open minutes, I believe, are September 13, 2023. Mr. Baker, I know you were not present for that one.
And Gino Ferroni was, so I make a motion to accept.
Well, just a quick Point of order that on the actual minutes themselves, it says September 27. I understand the file name says September 13th. But the top of the minutes says September 27. I just want to make sure we're talking about the
Yeah,
right one.
Thank you.
27?
Pulling them back up again. Does say 27.
I don't think it was September 27.
All right. I'm going to go back, and I admit I did not double check it against
I just
our-
noticed it. I read through
agenda?
it before and I just noticed it. Mhm.
Yep. No, I admit I did not double check that against our agenda to make sure it's which date is correct. So I'm happy to accept or simply not take a motion, or we can vote to continue that one till our next one, just so we can confirm that dates and agendas, which one is correct, whether it's the minutes or whether it's the title of
The
file.
dates of minutes were not listed on our agenda for which we were going to approve. So I don't know if it matters. You could probably approve them just with changing the date as an edit, if you wanted to.
I should have gone.
But I wasn't there.
right.
It was.
I'm going to ask we just continue, just so I'd rather than try to rush through and try to make sure it
Yeah.
matches and pick one. I'd rather make sure we have the information is correct, that it's labeled correctly, rather than doing it administratively after. Changing a date on the meeting it's one thing if it's a typo, but I'm just not sure which meeting that was off the top of my head. So we're going to continue that one if the board agrees until November 8th for approval on that date, once we confirm which dates are correct on the form or the file name.
No problem. You need a motion for that?
I
I don't think so.
don't think so. This is an administrative approval. I don't think we need it. So I think we're okay. We'll just continue that one set of minutes
November.
to our next one administratively.
November 8th, yeah. That's good.
All right, that brings us to correspondence and member updates and audience. We have no one in the audience at the moment, so we are at correspondence. Anyone have any correspondence to share?
No?
Nothing from Mr. Baker. Looks like nothing
They
from
don't
Mr.
like us.
Fratelloni. Mr. Greffy, any interesting updates from the Neshoba Association or yourself about Littleton or things in our area?
I have nothing for you.
Thank you, sir. All right, we have no correspondence. Any member updates, Mr. Baker? Mr. Fratelloni?
Updates.
No?
Nope. And I already caught mine of check the website if you're interested in participating in open seats on any of the boards, commissions, or committees in town. And please go out and get your flu shot and your COVID update if you have not gotten one. I have nothing else. I don't see any members in the audience. I don't obviously have any hands raised. So I think at this point, unless anyone else has anything, we can entertain a motion to adjourn.
A motion to adjourn. I want everybody to smile.
I'll
Jim,
second that.
thank you for coming, Jim.
Thank you.
Mr. Baker, thank you for calling me. I appreciate it because I
You're-
think it's the right number.
Yep,
And
you're
thank
welcome.
you, my Mr. Chairman. I'd like to see you smile more often, okay? Don't be so serious, for crying out loud. Look at Jim. Jim always smile. Look at Kevin.
Yes.
He always smile. I smile. Yeah, I smile too. I love you guys. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. I believe we have a motion on the floor for adjournment. So a roll call vote. Mr. Baker,
Kevin Baker votes yes.
Mr. Fratelloni,
Yes.
and chair votes yes. Our October 25th, 2023 Board of Health meeting in the town of Littleton is in adjournment.